honored to be on the phone with y'all. Y'all is for real.
Whenever Shedeur do his thing and I gotta get ready to go play for the Browns, and whenever I get ready, then we can run routes and shit.
All right, can we stream? Cause I just got stable, so I'm gonna be streaming this.
I know when I'm going to Miami and they said we all gotta link up in Miami.
I'm in Miami and
Are you supposed to be here, Chrisean?
Yeah, now I am. I'm gonna come down. Cause like, what y'all mean?
Oh, okay. I thought you was going F1 or something.
Huh?
So the internet really woke up and chose chaos again. Because tell me why a simple Miami invite just turned into a full-blown reality show storyline overnight. 1 second, it's Shedeur Sanders casually saying come to Miami, and the next second, it's social media acting like we just witnessed the opening scene of a messy Zeus Network crossover episode. And of course, right at the center of this digital hurricane, none other than Chrisean Rock, who somehow manages to turn even the smallest moment into headline-level drama without even trying. Now let's be real for a second. Because this wasn't just a normal invite. Oh no, the internet grabbed that moment, flipped it upside down, zoomed in on every word, every tone, every possible hidden meaning like they were decoding ancient hieroglyphics. Suddenly, people weren't just asking was it friendly, they were asking if this was the beginning of something bigger, messier, and way more complicated than anyone expected. And once that question hit the timeline, yeah, it was over. Because now everybody has an opinion. And not just a casual opinion either, we're talking full courtroom debates happening in comment sections like people are getting paid to argue. Some fans are screaming it's just vibes, others are yelling now this is flirting with intention. And then you got that third group, the conspiracy squad, connecting dots that don't even exist like. They're building a Marvel phase rollout, and somehow, every single take sounds convincing for about 5 seconds before the next wild theory shows up and takes over. But here's where it gets even more chaotic. Because Chrisean didn't just ignore it. She responded, and not in a quiet, low-key way either. No, this had tone, this had energy, this had that you're watching too close attitude mixed with just enough mystery to keep people guessing. And the moment she said anything at all, the internet didn't calm down, it doubled in volume. Because now it's not just speculation anymore, it's reaction layered on top of reaction. Creating a situation that's spiraling way faster than it should. And now the real question isn't just what did he mean? Or what did she mean? It's why does this feel like the beginning of something way bigger than a simple invite? Because let's be honest, situations like this don't just go viral for no reason. They hit a nerve. They spark curiosity. And they open doors people didn't even realize were there. And if you think this is just a random moment blowing up for no reason, yeah, you might want to stay tuned, because what unfolded next? It took this from playful speculation to full-blown internet chaos in record time. Now let's rewind this whole situation back to the exact moment things started getting weird, because this didn't just randomly explode out of nowhere. It began with Shedeur Sanders doing what looked like a simple, casual move-in invite to Miami that, on the surface, felt like harmless and honestly pretty normal. But the internet doesn't do normal, and the second that moment hit social media, it got treated like a scene from a scripted reality show where every word has hidden meaning. At first, people were just reacting for fun, throwing out jokes, posting laughing emojis, and treating it like a quick viral moment that would disappear in a few hours. But then the tone started shifting, because instead of fading out, the conversation started growing, stretching, evolving into something much bigger than anyone expected. Suddenly, people weren't laughing anymore, they were analyzing, questioning, and turning a simple invite into a full-blown storyline with layers nobody asked for. And then, of course, somebody had to say it out loud, the word flirting. And just like that, the entire energy flipped, because once that label gets attached to anything online, there's no going back. Now every glance, every word, every previous interaction gets dragged into the spotlight like evidence in a case nobody officially opened. And that's exactly what happened. because people immediately started digging, pulling up clips, old comments, anything they could find to support the idea that this wasn't just friendly energy. Meanwhile, Chrisean Rock was already a name that carries attention, controversy, and non-stop conversation, so adding her into this mix, that was like pouring gasoline on a fire that was already starting to spark, because let's be real, anything involving her automatically comes with intensity, opinions, and a whole lot of people ready to pick sides before they even know what's actually going on. And once her name got fully attached to the situation, the internet wasted no time building the narrative. Some fans started treating it like a potential new storyline, hyping it up like this was the beginning of a messy connection that could shake everything up. Others were instantly skeptical, side-eyeing the whole situation and calling it overblown, insisting people were reaching just for the sake of entertainment. But no matter which side people were on, one thing was clear: nobody was ignoring it. Then came the receipts, or at least what people claimed were receipts. Screenshots started circulating. Clips were reposted, and suddenly every tiny interaction was being magnified like it held some secret meaning. The problem, none of it was concrete, but that didn't matter, because once people believe there's a story, they'll fill in the missing pieces themselves. And that's exactly what happened. The gaps got filled with assumptions, guesses, and theories that sounded just believable enough to keep spreading. And let's not forget the blogs, because the blogs saw this moment and immediately knew what. It was a perfect storm of names, timing, and curiosity. Headlines started popping up, each one a little more dramatic than the last, each one pushing the narrative just enough to keep people clicking. And once those posts started circulating, the situation officially crossed from random moment into viral storyline, the kind that refuses to die no matter how little actual information exists. At the same time, people started dragging in outside context, because that's what always happens when the internet wants to make something bigger. Past situations, past drama, past relationships, everything got pulled into the conversation like it was all connected. Suddenly, this wasn't just about an invite anymore. It was about history, patterns, and possibilities that may or may not have had anything to do with the situation at all. And while all of this was happening, the one thing everybody was waiting for still hadn't happened. Chrisean herself hadn't responded yet, and that silence made everything 10 times louder. Because the longer she stayed quiet, the more people talked, the more theories grew, and the more the narrative started taking shape without her input. It was like watching a story being written in real time with the main character missing from the scene. But what nobody realized in that moment was that the silence wasn't empty, it was building tension. Because when you've got the entire internet watching, waiting, and speculating, the response isn't just a response, it's an event. And the second she decided to step in and say something, everything that people thought they understood, that's when it started to shift in ways nobody was ready for. Now this is where everything goes from okay, this is interesting, to what is actually happening right now. Because the second Chrisean Rock finally responded, the internet didn't calm down. It hit another level entirely. And not just regular reactions either, this was full-blown chaos. Like somebody just dropped a surprise twist in the middle of a live show. Her tone wasn't defensive, it wasn't overly serious, and it definitely wasn't giving "I'm caught up." It was that confident, slightly playful energy that somehow answered the question while also creating 10 new ones at the same time. And that's exactly what sent people into a frenzy. Because now nobody could agree on what her response actually meant. Some fans were like, see, she's just joking, y'all did too much. While others were squinting at every word like it was a coded message hiding deeper intentions. It became one of those moments where the same sentence meant completely different things depending on who was reading it, and suddenly the situation wasn't just about the invite anymore, it was about interpretation, tone, and what people wanted it to mean. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders didn't exactly shut anything down either, which only added more fuel to an already out of control fire. Because instead of giving a clear "this is nothing" moment, the vibe stayed open-ended, just enough to keep people guessing and debating like it was some kind of interactive storyline. And you already know what happens when clarity is missing. The internet fills in the blanks with whatever sounds the most entertaining, and they filled those blanks. TikTok turned into a full casting call of people acting out what Miami would look like. Twitter threads started reading like scripted episodes, and Instagram comments became battlegrounds where fans were arguing like they had personal stakes in the outcome. It felt less like a real situation and more like a crossover episode between reality TV and a soap opera, where everybody's watching, reacting, and picking sides in real time. Then came the celebrity reactions, because once something gets this loud, you already know the sidelines start talking. Some influencers were posting subtle shade, others were clearly entertained, and a few were acting like commentators at a sporting event, breaking down every move like it meant something bigger. It wasn't even about facts anymore, it was about vibes, speculation, and who could deliver the most entertaining take on the situation. And let's not ignore the memes, because once the memes hit, you know it's officially out of control. People started comparing this whole situation to everything from reality show hookups to Marvel crossover moments, with jokes about Miami episodes loading and season to plot twists incoming. The humor kept things alive even when the facts were still unclear, proving once again that the internet doesn't need truth, it just needs a storyline that people can run with. But at the same time, the contradictions were getting louder and harder to ignore. 1 minute people were saying it was harmless. The next minute they were acting like this was the beginning of something serious. And somehow both arguments were trending at the same time. It was like watching two completely different narratives exist side by side, both loud, both confident, and neither fully grounded in anything solid. And then came the deep dives, the long posts where people suddenly become analysts. Overnight, they were breaking down past interviews, old clips, previous interactions, trying to build a timeline that connected everything together like it was part of a bigger plan. Some of it sounded convincing for a second, some of it sounded completely unhinged, but all of it kept the conversation going, which is exactly what the internet thrives on. But here's the thing that really pushed this into another level: the feeling that this wasn't just random anymore. Because once something keeps growing instead of fading, people start assuming there's more behind it, even if there isn't. And that's where the tension really built. Because now it wasn't just about what was said, it was about what wasn't said, what might happen next, and whether this was the start of a storyline nobody saw coming. And just when it felt like the situation had reached peak chaos, when it seemed like there was nothing else left to add, the energy shifted again. Because instead of getting clearer, things got quieter in a way that felt intentional. And that silence, that silence didn't feel like the end, it felt like the setup for something way bigger waiting right around the corner. Now this is where everything slows down. But not in a way that feels peaceful, it's that eerie calm where you know something just happened, and you're still trying to process it. Because after all the noise, all the debates, all the memes, the situation didn't just disappear. It transformed, and suddenly, the same people who were screaming opinions started watching a little more carefully, like they realized this might not have been as simple as they first thought. What really shifted the energy was how Chrisean handled the aftermath, because instead of feeding the chaos, she stepped back just enough to let the internet expose itself. She didn't keep pushing the conversation, she didn't jump into every comment war, and she definitely didn't give people the dramatic confirmation they were begging for. Instead, she moved with that calm confidence that made everything feel even more mysterious, like she knew something the audience didn't. And that move, it made people uncomfortable in the best way possible. Because when the main character stops entertaining the narrative, the audience is forced to question their own assumptions. The loud takes started fading, the bold claims started softening, And even some of the biggest voices switched up their tone like they were quietly rewriting their earlier opinions. It wasn't a full reversal, but it definitely felt like a step back from the chaos they helped create. But don't get it twisted, because not everybody backed down. There were still those fans holding onto the idea that this was more than just a moment, insisting there had to be something deeper behind the scenes. They kept digging, kept speculating, kept trying to find connections that would prove their theory wasn't just entertainment, and honestly, their persistence kept the situation alive just enough to stop it from fading completely into the background. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders stayed just ambiguous enough to keep the curiosity alive. And that right there became part of the story too. Because when neither side fully closes the door, people assume it's still open, and that assumption creates its own kind of tension. It turned into one of those what-if situations where the possibility becomes more interesting than the reality, and suddenly the speculation feels just as important as the facts. And as the dust settled, the bigger picture started becoming clearer, not about what actually happened, but about how fast something small can turn into something massive online. One invite, one response. And suddenly it becomes a full narrative with layers, sides, and emotional investment from people who weren't even involved. It's not just about the situation anymore, it's about the way the internet builds stories in real time and treats them like episodes in a series at the same time. This moment quietly changed how people looked at both of them moving forward, because now every future interaction is going to be watched 10 times closer. Every post, every comment, every appearance is going to be analyzed like it could be the next chapter in this unexpected storyline, and whether they intended it or not. They've created a level of curiosity that doesn't just disappear overnight, it lingers, waiting for something to react to. And let's not ignore the emotional side underneath all this, because even though it looks like entertainment, being at the center of that level of attention comes with pressure most people don't even understand. Thousands of voices, constant opinions, non-stop speculation, it's a lot, even if you handle it well on the surface. So while the internet was turning it into a show, there was still a real situation unfolding behind all that noise. Then came the unexpected shift from chaos to curiosity. Because once the loud reactions died down, people didn't just move on. They started asking different questions. Not, is this flirting? But was there something deeper in that moment? Not what did she say, but what happens next? And just like that, the conversation evolved into something quieter, but way more intriguing than the original drama. And this is where it really feels like a season finale. Because even though things look like they've calmed down, the story doesn't feel finished, it feels paused. Like this was just the introduction to something bigger that hasn't fully played out yet. Because if there's one thing this whole situation proved, it's that moments like this don't just finish. They come back when you least expect them. And when they do, yeah, it's never in a small way. Now look, if you made it this far without forming at least one strong opinion, I'm convinced you were just here for the chaos. And honestly, I respect it. Because this wasn't just a situation, this was a full-blown internet episode with plot twists, mixed signals, and enough speculation to power 3 different storylines at once. And somehow, we're still sitting here wondering if it was flirting, friendly vibes, or something that hasn't even revealed itself yet. So go ahead. Don't be shy, jump into that comment section and let it all out. Was this just a harmless moment that the internet turned into a movie? Or do you think there's something deeper brewing behind the scenes? I already know some of y'all got theories that sound like unreleased episodes. And honestly, those are the ones I want too. Here first. Bring the drama, bring the takes. Just don't act like you weren't invested the whole time. And while you're at it, smash that like button like it owes you money. Because if we're breaking down chaos at this level, you might as well show some love for it. Hit subscribe too. Because let's be real, the internet does not stay quiet, and the second another moment like this pops up, You already know we're diving right back in with zero hesitation and maximum energy. Because this, right here, this is Celeb Sync, where the drama stays loud, the breakdowns stay real, and the stories, yeah, they never end when you think they do. Stay locked in, keep watching. And don't blink too long, because if this situation taught us anything, it's that the next twist is always one post away.